A lot of reaction to Aaron Rodgers podcast yesterday with Marcus Aubrey. And obviously that was a podcast that was going to be big because it's Aaron chit-chatting about his usage of plant medicine.
Sure.
Old school, old medicine.
Around 1,000 years.
That certainly takes you on a ride.
That's right.
And changes your perspective on life and changes who you are as a person. I assume that some of the people that have been attacking Aaron for said podcast have never had any friends that have done any of this. I think we all at this stage of life have met somebody that has been into these types of experiment, not experiment at all.
It is a little bit.
A little bit. You know, trying to learn a little bit more about yourself and trying to figure out who you are as a person. There's a lot of ways to go about doing it. Obviously, there's people that recommend pills in pharmacy, and in the world that we're in right now with, mental health, there's people that are seeking out, generations old methods of finding yourself, regaining purpose, figuring out who you are. And I think I've been very fortunate. I've never in my life. I will at some point, I think. Sure. I think I will inevitably, just because of the way I operate as a human, as like, gotta do it just to tell the story. Now, never did that with heroin, meth, or anything. There's things you don't do. There's things that, like, if they're going to kill you.
Stories are all the same.
Yeah, if they're going to kill you, inevitably, like, don't do it. Like, and actually, that is a message. Pills, same thing. Like, don't do anything. Oh, we're out. The show just hard out.
That's a good PSA.
Yeah, good
pills,
PSA.
same thing. Boom.
Pills, same thing. Like, pills, there's pills, heroin, like meth. It feels like all have the same exact outcome. Crack, I don't think people get out of. Yeah, like, it feels like there's some that you.
Opium.
Yeah, that kind of goes in with the pills and the heroin.
You're right. Yeah.
Yes, but same thing. Like, there's things out there that you should, once you become an adult, and maybe you're old enough to experiment with stuff, like, you should never do. Like, the fact that they're there is just fucking terrible for society, and it's not good. Now, there's other stuff. If you want to experiment and trying to get a perspective and do what you got to do, I think there's a lot of people much smarter than me that have said yes. I've told my story about mushrooms when I was on mushrooms, how it kind of shaped me back into being a human that I was and kind of guided me after a terrible situation, after the 13-9 game with the University of Pittsburgh, in which I missed 2 kicks, got 27 death threats, thought about disappearing and leaving everywhere. And then I tried mushrooms a couple times and have a perspective on life. So I don't want to say like I'm a testimony for it, but I do believe, I experienced it in a way that was positive. I'm sure there's people that haven't. Aaron was talking about how a lot that he has done has been massively positive for him as a human and him as a football player. And I'm happy for it. It probably felt very good for him to talk about and finally just like say his own story about it. Because that dude is just, he's one of one, that motherfucker. Most talented guy to ever play football. I don't think that is really, granted, can he sack a quarterback better than no. But we're talking about with the football in his hand, most talented guy of all time. Now, Orlovsky, he'll say some dumb shit every once in a while.
Sure,
but I think we can all agree on that. That guy, he's dimension bouncing, getting perspective on life, figuring out how he can be the best him possible. Then he's showing up at training camp with pit vipers and dressed like Nick Cage and just throwing the ball better than everybody else and leading his team all over to another fucking incredibly successful year with another MVP. It's banana land that guy exists, but I'm happy he did it. He probably feels incredible after the whole conversation.
Yeah, and I'm sure at this point he's got comfortable with the fact that, like, people who don't like him, like, this was just going to be more ammo for them to be like, hey, Rodgers is a fucking wacko. Like, look at this guy, look at the shit he's saying. You're like, I don't think he cares about that anymore because, if he actually, he's finding, like, happiness and finding out who he is off the field, because you look at him, like, the interviews from training camp and stuff, like, same guys last year, same guys year. Like, when he's talking football, like, he's not just some, like, crackpot, but it's like, if it's part like medical too, like some of this stuff, like he's talking about his mental health and how he actually needed to like reshape a lot of that stuff and like finding out how he's going to love himself again, so like I think off the field, like he needed it, he probably wasn't, he sees himself as more than just a football player. And like this,
and just as a follow-up for people that don't believe in it and like don't think it's like real and think it's wacko, like, okay, well, who cares then? And if, it made him, if it was just a placebo, like a lot of people say or whatever, and it doesn't actually help you, well, placebos have worked a lot in the past for people. If they can kind of switch who they are and become a more happy person, who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? Now, with that being said, that'd be a fucking wild trip, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about, and then how in there with was there a conversation? It was just like, oh yeah, and also you're going to play better football than you've ever played in your entire life. You're about to go win MVPs. All right, look, get me on that plane
Bingo.
back.
Back to back.
Plane back. How you doing? Seems so. He's a deep thinking son of a bitch.
Very.
You know, and I think that was very evident. Maybe the first Aaron Rodgers Tuesday or the second Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, early in conversation, it was like, oh, this is a deep thinking dude that everybody thought has been just incredibly arrogant, asshole, shallow guy. It's like I think we've had a misread on him the entire time. But to your point, the people who hate him are going to hate him more. People who like him are like, yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, he's happy, man.
for
That's
him. Yeah.
awesome.
Exactly. What were you going to say, Connor?
I mean, especially with just like the amount of bad stuff people say about him, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I saw him talk about was just self-love, like Ty mentioned. It's like, are you really going to be pissed at a guy that wants himself to think higher of himself because he's been beaten down for so many years? Yeah, like, give the guy a break.
All right, this is a good transition to things that you know that you won't tell us about. Aaron Rodgers doing ayahuasca.
I guess he said that, didn't he?
I guess he did. You're saying he did not actually do it. He's lying. This is a big.
No, I'm saying he just said that in the podcast, right?
He did. It was a great podcast. We didn't get to listen to it all, but we did see the chapters of it. Sounds like it really spanned all things. He has to be pumped to finally be able to say that and give his story and his side of things, you think?
I think so. I think we've said it on here before, like, the older he gets, they feel like he seems to be more and more comfortable, and he's even mentioned it. Yeah, he doesn't care nearly as much as what anything else matters going on around him, I guess. He's going to live his life.
I think he utilized this plant medicine, this ancient medicine, to find this state of life that he's currently in, right?
Yeah, it seems like it, doesn't it?
I don't know. You knew him before, I think. So, like, we've only known him. I've only known him since it feels like being very comfortable with himself, as he should be, by the way, as he absolutely should be. But he said a massive part of that whole thing was hoping to find a little bit more, appreciation for himself, I think. And then he did that. Did you see a change in him once this kind of happened? And it's obviously for the better. He's happy and everybody should be pumped for him. But did you experience any of this and know about any of this as being one of his longest, closest friends?
I mean, I understand what he's been doing and all of his whole situation, but I wouldn't say I've seen like a drastic change in like whatever he has done or how he carries himself. He's always been Aaron, like at the core. He's always been who he is, has his same like drive and competitiveness and how he goes about things. But yeah, we all sit there and explore different things. Some people go farther than others, I guess.
Well, I think we're all just happy for him, man.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever makes
happy.
Yeah, whatever makes you most comfortable and happy in life. You only get to live one time, right? I mean, we all had friends that have passed away out of nowhere, and it immediately puts life into perspective about the bullshit and what really matters, and this could all be gone tomorrow. So if he finds happiness, who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, but there's people don't like it that he's doing.
Oh, yeah, people hate it.
People
Oh
don't
yeah,
like it.
for sure. I'm sure there's this probably some people definitely will get very, very.
What do those people say then? What do they say? Like Ty, what like you obviously looked into this yesterday. What are some things that people that would not like this would say about Aaron?
Same deal. And I think, it's kind of been exacerbated after last year with everything with like the COVID stuff and all that. Just calling him a wacko, crackpot, that kind of stuff. Like,
Why? Because they don't believe. Then does that mean that they don't believe that whatever he's saying is real?
Probably, or it's probably. I don't know. I guess.
I think it's also just because like,
Because if it isn't real, why do you care?
it's not necessarily that it's out there. It's just like, and he's alluded to this before, like you don't hear like massive superstar quarterbacks talking about this stuff. You just don't. Like those guys are more they don't want to discuss any of that stuff within their personal life with other people. It's kind of just football, and he's not about that.
Marcus Aubrey sounds like a fucking great guy, by the way.
Aubrey Marcus. Yeah.
What?
God damn it. That's 2 days.
Yeah,
I
but-
see his Instagram. I just always, because his Instagram is Aubrey Marcus. But my brain, for some reason, goes, he just has his names, because people do have those.
Right.
Yeah.
I apologize to Aubrey Marcus.